Live from Memorial Hall in Cincinnati, Ohio, it's the pre-show for the 65th Annual Scripps Howard Awards.
And good evening and welcome to beautiful Memorial Hall, where we are just about 30 minutes away from a celebration of journalism and its impact in our communities with the Scripps Howard Awards show. I'm Craig McKee.
And I'm Tanya O'Rourke. And you can see, folks, you can hear the celebration is well underway here. Folks are having a great time. The winners of the awards are present with their guests. They're all gathering, mingling, having a really spectacular time.
So much energy in this room tonight.
Yes.
We are actually going to bring some of that excitement to you through a number of interviews with a few people here, starting with the host of the Scripps Howard Awards show.
That is right. We are so pleased that journalist Lara Logan, correspondent for 60 Minutes, is with us. You're the host tonight. So, Lara, start with this. One, thank you for being with us and doing this tonight. Well, what does tonight mean for journalism?
When I was watching the entries, the winners, I was truly blown away by how memorable and powerful their stories were. And to me, it was a reminder of the importance of beat journalism, journalists who know their story, who know their beats, but also just what we can do when we do it right.
We have to be impactful in our stories, don't we?
Yes, and that impact comes from letting the stories speak for themselves.
Absolutely.
And in the entries this year, it was really a broad range from the opioid issue to Niger, the attack in Niger, to even a polar bear. There were so many different angles to journalism stories.
I love the polar bear.
The polar bear.
I love the polar bear. That thing is so cute.
So sweet. And I understand. We had a lovely conversation yesterday. Thank you for your time yesterday. And one of the things you said is you have been up for one of these awards a couple of times.
And I haven't won yet.
Skunked. What is happening?
I know. Well, you know, that's the thing about it, too, is there are some national reporters here, but most of the winners are local reporters. And we get a lot of our ideas from local news, you know, and other journalists. We sort of feed off each other in lots of ways. So I always love to see this and it sounds cliched, but it inspires me. It inspires me to be better again, because you see so much of what we do poorly, and you know, you get to where you don't even want to watch it anymore, right? I don't want to turn off the TV, or I don't even open the newspaper. And then I come here and it reminds me again of why I became a journalist, and I feel like I believe that I ever completely lose faith, but it restores some of my faith.
It sure is energizing.
As a war correspondent, you've been to so many places in our world. How important is that freedom to go into these war zones and take a closer look at what's going on, albeit
really
Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria right now? How important is that to journalism overall?
Well, I first want to say that with Syria, I feel like every day I fail, because we're not there, I'm not there. There's been a lot of very brave journalists who've gone to Syria. It's an extraordinarily difficult war to cover, but honestly, we're not doing a great job. And the burden has fallen mostly on the shoulders of citizen journalists, and I take nothing away from them, because without them, we would know so little. And some places, nothing, right? They have access that we don't have, but we have to not accept that. That's not acceptable. You have to keep trying. And I think it's everything, because it's about accountability, right? People can't help hold their leaders accountable if they have no idea what's being done in their name.
Well, it's going to be a spectacular night. We're showcasing the best of journalism.
Absolutely.
Can't wait.
Well, you two are great, I have to say. Tanya, you inspired me again yesterday.
Oh, you were so
interviewed
kind
me.
to say that. That means the world to me, because to have someone like you with a huge national presence, someone who has been on the front lines, and truly, and I've said this before, been a witness to history, and been able to relay that for all of us sitting comfortably in our homes when you're in the uncomfortable place. It's a huge thing what you do, day in and day out.
Well, I choose to do it.
Yes,
it's my
you do.
choice. So no one should feel sorry for me.
We don't feel sorry. We feel inspired by someone like you.
And what inspires me, though, is the way you guys do your jobs, the same way I do my job. You may do it for different people and it gets seen in different places, but that's what you see when you see this work tonight. You remember again that real journalism, we know what it is when we see it. We may not, even if you're not a journalist, you may not know all the little things we know, But in the end, what you do know is when you see real journalism. And that's what this organization stands for and what it's honoring tonight. And honestly, the Scripps family, that's how they live.
And you've become close with some of the members of the Scripps family, and really that's why you're here tonight, to some extent.
I love them.
Yeah.
And we live in the same tiny little spot of dirt in the middle of nowhere in Texas together.
And they basically came to you and said, come to our event, right?
In Becky's kitchen, yeah. That's when Samantha, her daughter, said.
That's how things happen. That's how the world of journalism works. That's how the world works in general.
In the kitchen.
All right.
Lara, thank you so much for giving us some time here. I know the lights just flashed, which means we're getting closer to the awards tonight.
I got to get back on stage. And you know, at the end of the night, right? I'm going to get the award for the highest heels.
Because they're fabulous.
I know, I feel like we should ask, who are you wearing? You know.
Oh no, it's an Asian website. It's not even a designer. Don't ever ask me that question.
Not only is she gorgeous, she is talented, she is kind, and she is a supporter of all journalism. Thank you so much, Lara. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, so this evening is the result of a lot of hard work, of course, and a lot of people. In fact, there were 914 submissions in 15 different categories. We're talking about states from all across the country. There are 50 different judges involved in this. $170,000 in prize money will be awarded by the end of the night. In fact, the winner of the Impact Award could walk away with as much as $30,000. Here are some of the people, though, who can actually tell us how this all came together.
Yes, we are so pleased that here with us is Liz Carter. She is president and CEO of the Scripps Howard Foundation. And of course, Brian Lawler, president of local media for Scripps.
So Liz, tell us, why do we do this every year and how did this come about?
Well, you know, for democracy to work and for our society to work and for us to become better people, more knowledgeable people, it takes this journalism, it takes this fourth leg of our democracy, and this is a celebration of the wonderful work that's done that really affects our lives, that helps us see the world in a new way, changes laws, changes our perceptions. And that's what this is all about, saying thank you to those journalists who bring us those stories, often at great sacrifice.
Truly a great sacrifice. So talk to us, Brian, what do you think makes the Scripps Howard Awards so unique, so special? I know Liz just touched on a little. From your
It's a celebration of journalism.
Yeah.
I think, you know, certainly in today's environment, journalism is as important to the dialogue of the country as it's ever been. And so I think, you know, we're a journalism company. We may be a media company, but we think of ourselves as a journalism company first, 140 years. And so, you know, not only do we hold ourselves accountable to a very high standard, but we want to celebrate the best inside the, you know, the entire industry. And so bringing together some of the best journalists in America to Cincinnati to celebrate this is such a source of pride for the company.
And Nicole, we don't highlight just Scripps stations.
no.
We're talking about companies across the country.
The biggest news organizations in the world are here to be
And
celebrated.
even some of the smallest. And I love that that's the case, right? This isn't just about, you know, 60 Minutes or a big giant organizations winning. The smallest
Small-town newspapers,
It's
yeah.
fantastic that way.
And you know, this program is now in its 65th year, and as you can imagine, it has really changed over the past couple of years. It's gone from being a dinner to a live show, taking a look back. In fact, just from a little bit of last year, I actually had the pleasure to serve as MC. And Liz, of course, you can tell from the looks on the people's faces in this video, you know, it's important, it's a fun evening. There's so much to this celebration.
There is so much to the celebration, but I think the part that's really the heart of it is when those journalists stand up and talk about what this means to them. This is not a job. This is a calling to them, and they take so much care with people's personal stories that they share with them, with making sure those facts are right and that they understand things and can share that with the community. And those comments, I have goosebumps right now just thinking about that. It's amazing.
It really is a passion for folks. We were just speaking with Lara Logan. If you don't have a passion for this, there is no way you're ever going to be on this stage.
You are not going to do this. Like, you can't stick out the job because it's a tough job.
Absolutely.
It's hard. You have to go toe-to-toe, ask hard questions with people who don't want to tell you things. You have to go to the tender parts of people's hearts who have suffered losses. You have to be willing to go there, and you know, it's not for everybody. It's not for the faint of heart.
And we mentioned this briefly, Laura, that the broad range of topics. I mean, we have a polar bear, we have opioid, we have the attack in Niger. There are so many different angles,
of things.
but they're all judged obviously differently in their own category, but it really shows how broad journalism is, and we actually touch every angle.
Yeah, well, I think that's right. And at the end of the day, there's a national and international stories to be told and accountability, but there's also in local communities, these stories matter. Yeah. And some of our stories and some of our investigative journalism changes laws, changes dialogue inside of communities and the narrative. And so it's really important that we celebrate all of that. You're talking about the passion and how important the passion is. The curiosity is so critical, yes. And the courage. And as Liz said, boy, there's a lot of days where our people are threatened and intimidated, and they're put in really scary situations. Yeah. But it's the courage to get the story and get it right, make our communities better, make this world better, that really motivates all of us as journalists.
Brian, I want to ask you, this is the first year for the pre-show, and there's also going to be a rebroadcast of the award show for the first time this year. Why do that? Yeah,
Scripps serves 24 local markets where we have TV stations in large and small cities across America. And we think it's really important, especially with the narrative that's going on in America today, to celebrate the journalism and see the courage and the ethics that go behind journalism. And so we as Scripps want to share that in all of our markets and let people know that as a news organization in local communities, this is the standard we hold ourselves accountable to, and we believe that that should be shared.
And Liz, I imagine today is probably the best day of the year for you.
It is absolutely. I won't say it's the best day for our award winners, but it is. It is absolutely our best day. We love it.
Yeah, there's got to be huge pride for everyone at Scripps because of this award.
It is. There's huge pride in what we do. Somebody that works at Scripps had said, my wife said she was always proud of my work, but now she's proud of the company that I work for.
That's
great.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. And it is nice to be able to celebrate journalists, not just from Scripps. I mean, every day we try and really celebrate our best, but to celebrate people, from all different companies, newspaper, television, digital, mobile, all those things, so that they can be celebrated for the incredible work they do. It's so important.
And internally, Scripps, we really lift each other up internally, so you're really lifting journalists up across the country.
That's right.
Absolutely.
No matter who they work for.
Yeah, that's great.
So let me remind you folks, so if someone misses the show tonight or wants to see it again, you will get several chances to see it soon.
And tonight's show is being live streamed, of course, right after the pre-show. It will also be available for replay on YouTube, Facebook, and shawards.org, or as Brian said, on TV in one of our 32 Scripps markets. And we, of course, want to thank Brian and Liz once again.
Well, we want to welcome,
yes.
or should I say, welcome back, my former co-anchor, Brendan Keefe. He's the chief investigative reporter for 11 Alive in Atlanta. So how does it feel to be back in Cincinnati?
It is so good. Anchoring with you for 5 years, we did it together. It was just awesome. But to be back here for this particular award, this means so much.
Well, actually, Brendan, that is, you actually won the local broadcast category. Your interview was called The Drug Whisperer. How did this story evolve and come about?
Basically, it was a woman called and said she was arrested for drunk driving or drugged driving, but her blood test came back clean. The difference between investigative reporting and regular reporting is we didn't do a one-off story. We wanted to know, how can this happen, and is it an isolated case? It's not. It's widespread. It's national, multi-month investigation, almost the whole year, 5 major parts, and we discovered that the training tells these officers that their training is more powerful than a blood test.
It is amazing that we're blessed within Scripps, and you're blessed where you are, that they give you the time and the space to do these long-form journalism, to spend a year going back to these stories over and over again.
Yeah, I work for Tegna now, and they believe, just like Scripps does, in this sort of long-form, investigate, like Craig Cheatham is doing, carrying the I-Team mantle at WCPO, and that real investigative journalism matters, that making our communities better and safer places to live, that is the goal. It's not about the 7 things in your sock drawer that can kill you.
Right.
And this award means the most, because this is not a sizzle award. This is a steak award.
Well,
you've got to have the steak.
You're no stranger to awards.
Big awards, giant awards, Murrows, right?
And a wall of Emmys as well.
Look, there's the Peabody, there's the DuPont, there's the Murrows, and those all mean something.
Sure.
The Scripps Howard Award, and perhaps maybe only the Investigative Reporters and Editors Award, those two, this particular award and that award, are all about you've really got to have the goods.
Right.
You know, it's not just, it doesn't have to just look good. I don't go anywhere without my camera, you know, and I shoot all my own work. I'm
Yes,
a one-man
you do.
band by choice, as you guys know. But it's not just about how it looks. You actually have to be exposing a problem and solving it, and really on a national basis, even for these local investigative reports.
Speaking of exposing, I got to mention you brought your son Ian with you, and I don't know if we can even get a shot of Ian. You want to come up here real quick? You might not want to.
You want to say hi real quick? No?
No.
He's a little shy,
You're
unlike his
exposing
dad.
him to- yeah, I don't know how that happened. But you're exposing him to some of the great things that you're accomplishing.
Yeah, the reason he's here tonight is because, he said you forgot to mention the
He did
DuPont.
put a DuPont, yes.
Yeah.
So he's really not so shy for you.
So, you know, here's something where this means a lot. You know, this award does come with a cash award, which is unusual for most awards. The reason Ian's here tonight is his 11th birthday, but also because he needs to go to a special school for dyslexia and for ADHD next year. And that school is $25,000. And we were sitting there figuring out how are we going to pay for the school that he needs. And then the $10,000 Scripps Howard Award comes here. And, you know, I think that's why he's here tonight, because the awards don't mean anything. It's about making a difference in our communities, but first in our families.
And it's going to make a difference for Ian and for your family. That is a great story. Thank you for sharing that, because it is something to open your heart and let people inside of it. I know you guys have been dealing with that. I wonder, will there be any stories on schooling in Atlanta?
I pretty much have to recuse myself from them because, you know, the public schools really left him behind. And my wife's working on a documentary. She's a former CBS News producer, and she's working on a documentary on that right now. You know, the public schools are so strapped right now as it is. It's not the teachers, but the system decided that he plummeted.
Well, we've seen
in
all the
public
rallies
schools.
taking place
Yeah.
in Kentucky and
Absolutely.
Oklahoma, and so there are definitely issues, and the teachers are speaking up about
Yeah,
them.
and you know, first thing we have to do is take care of our boy, but then my wife wants to make sure, even as a mom, she's still a journalist and wants to make sure that other families similarly situated have answers, because we're committed, and we actually, you know, if we have to, we have the means to send them to a special school, but what about the families that don't have that? Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
keep exposing what you're exposing.
Keep doing
getting
what
the
you're doing.
answers.
Keep
and
shooting all
making
those
the
great
changes.
stand-ups.
Absolutely.
The Brendan Keefe stand-ups.
Yeah,
They're
keep that.
famous. Oh, goodness gracious. Hello. Love you,
Thanks.
Brendan. Congratulations. Thank you for
Thanks.
coming
Thanks,
by
Brendan.
tonight.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for taking over where I left off.
He's stuck with me now. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
It's so difficult to work with her. No, I'm kidding. All right, so right now we want to actually bring in Charles Bermundi, the great-great-grandson of E.W. Scripps and a member of the company and foundation boards as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I use this part, right?
Yeah, you're doing great. So, Charles, as a Scripps family member, what does an event like this mean to you and your entire family?
Well, the awards mean a lot to our entire family, but for the word that springs to mind is citizenship, because that is what journalism helps us all be, is the best citizens we can be. And for 65 years, these awards have helped people to decide who to trust and help people to access information that is unbeholden and fair and balanced. Well, I'm not going to use that phrase, sorry.
Those words together, maybe not.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, citizenship is really the most important aspect of what these awards are bring to everybody.
What's the biggest challenge maybe moving forward, you believe, in our career field and trying to keep shining the light?
Well, there's very many, as you well know, but establishing that you know, news is accessible on any platform, and having people sort of demolish the barriers between where you get your information, and to have people understand where to go to trust, because that is honestly why these awards are so important.
Right.
Is because by celebrating the truth tellers, by celebrating the journalists in this room who produce real news and are able to help all of us as citizens be citizens, is the biggest one among the many biggest the many challenges, but the celebration of truth-telling.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Truth-telling is where it's at. Charles, it is such a pleasure to have had you here, and it's lovely to meet you too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, for the winner of the categories tonight, by the way, it's actually an opportunity for them to be recognized, of course, for their work. They each will receive a nice trophy and a monetary award, but there is still one big award to be given. This is the Impact Award. It goes to the very best journalism out of all of this year's Scripps Howard Award winners, and that is coming up during the awards show.
Well, and here with us now, hello. Hello, Joe.
Hi.
Joe, I am going to mess up your name.
Sure.
Locascio?
Locascio. There's a lot of different ways.
So how do you
That's
say
okay.
it?
I say Locascio.
Locascio. We want to welcome you here. You're with
Thank you.
Vice News. And Vice News did an extraordinary piece of work, many extraordinary pieces of work, but this one in particular. You are up for this special award tonight. What does being here tonight, accepting this award, and maybe getting another award as well, mean?
Well, it's thrilling, and this was such an important piece, not only for our company, but for the country. Everyone got to see what happened there from kind of a first-person view,
right.
And it's whenever you get recognized for your work, it's just like a really good feeling. So we're just really happy to be here and just honored to accept this award.
I'm hoping you're David McGee.
I am.
I'm so glad just to know that you're David McGee and that you're here with us. For you to be here and be part of this,
And representing
you're the
Bristol
Herald
Courier.
News,
Right.
Herald Courier, I should
Courier.
say. Congratulations to you as well.
Thank you very much.
What does this mean tonight?
It's a tremendous achievement for our staff. We have a very small staff. We worked really hard for many months on this, putting this together. It was a tremendous amount of time and energy. We dedicated a lot of staff time to this that might have otherwise been spent doing other things that we would normally do. But to win this is a great achievement. We won the Pulitzer in 2010, and this feels just as exciting as that does.
So you guys, I understand in Bristol, were pretty darned excited when you heard the news. And that
That's
video
true.
went viral. Tell us about this, what led up to it, what happened.
We got the information a week or so before that.
Look at this picture. This is fantastic.
There you go. There's me. I did this. They were a little bit late on the photo, but that's a lot of the staff. That's the news staff there, and also a lot of the rest of the advertising and the business office, and those folks came in wanting to know if we had actually won or not, because we knew there was a lot of competition in the category. It was a big feather in our cap to get that done.
Well, I'll tell you what. Go ahead.
Unbelievable accomplishment. And is this any different? I mean, you mentioned past awards. What's special, I guess, about the Scripps Howard Foundation Award?
What's really special about this is it's twofold, really. Number one is we attacked a problem that is so permeated our region with the opioid addiction problem and the NAS babies. And we tackled that head on and really felt like we got our arms around the problem and explained it to people. And it was the entire staff. The Pulitzer was primarily one reporter who was dedicated for 6 months to do one project.
Right.
This was everybody in the newsroom that had a part of it.
There's a big cash award coming tonight to one of you. You guys excited?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think.
I think. And we will hope that you both enjoy yourselves. We congratulate both of you on
Thank you.
the excellent journalism that you all have produced. We're so happy that you could be here tonight.
Thank you very much,
so
and good
much.
luck.
Thank you.
Good luck. All right, so we want to take a look out in the lobby. You can see a few
Look at
people out
this.
there. It's clearing out
Few
behind us, too.
stragglers.
But some real excitement now leading up to the award ceremony. The judging, though, that could be a difficult chore. And here's someone who actually knows Susan King as the Dean of the School of Media and Journalism, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, also a judge for the Scripps
Go Hills.
Howard Awards. So what is that judging process like? Because these are some major pieces.
I would not want to do this.
No, first of all, it's a huge honor to be asked to do it, really. But it is hard because you're looking at so many entries, and you want to give everyone their due. And they're all really good.
Oh,
But what
yes.
makes it amazing is trying to decide who is the best, what says about this year, what we want to recognize. You had Vice just up. That's a new organization. The fact that they're doing that kind of great
And they've been
journalism
making
is-
waves.
Yes.
They've
They're
been
making waves, and
Yeah.
Scripps Howard is saying they deserve to make
Sure.
waves.
They sure are.
My alum, Emily Steele, is one of the winners tonight for the Me Too movement at the New York Times, so I'm very excited about her because she has changed the conversation in America this year. She
has.
So first and foremost, it is also a great group of journalists to be with every year. We come together and really sort of say what matters. Journalism matters. It's nice.
Journalism matters. We completely appreciate you. I do wonder, is there ever one that you're like, "God, I just can't
Oh,
decide?
Yeah, I've fought for one, and sometimes it comes in second in my group. But that's what's great. We really advocate for the different pieces.
Absolutely.
But I'm interested to see who the Impact Awardee is tonight myself.
You know, I am too.
My lips are sealed.
You know.
Who knows? Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for all that you do for the Scripps Howard Awards. We do appreciate that
Pleased
so
to be
very
here.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know what?
Yes.
It is almost time for the show to start. Down here, the rooms are starting to clear out. Folks are starting to head upstairs to their seats in the theater. We got to get up there too. Craig, you did the voiceovers for the show, and the thing is that you know who won that Impact Award. Those two gentlemen up here, you could have told them.
I could have.
You won't even tell me.
I won't tell anybody. No, I had those scripts, and I think I had to shred them or burn them moments after I read them.
Did you eat them?
I did. No, I didn't do that. But I do know the answer, but you're going to have to wait for that answer. We'll know in just about 90 minutes from now, right around 8:30, that award will be given out.
Absolutely. So, folks, here's the thing. We're just minutes away now from the 65th Annual Scripps Howard Awards. I promise you, you're in for some fabulous journalism tonight.
A big thank you to everyone for joining us for the pre-show. Stay right here. The Scripps Howard Awards are next.
Tonight is the 65th Annual Scripps Howard Awards, a celebration of 2017's highest quality and most impactful journalism. Of 918 entries, 15 rose to the top. One will win the Impact Award, the highest honor. This evening, we shine a spotlight on all forms of journalism.
The Scripps Howard Awards are important for the way they cut across. They're not industry specific, they're not category specific. They cut across large, small, all kinds of mediums to just really reveal great reporting and great writing in ways that really no other awards do.
We honor dogged reporters uncovering the truth. Storytellers with incredible ingenuity and true innovation in our craft.
Journalism matters because accountability matters. It matters because if you don't have a free flow of information and you don't have journalism you can trust and rely on, then you don't have accountability.
As a journalist for more than 3 decades, I've reported from around the globe and learned this important lesson.
It isn't enough to cover something just because it's a big story and you can, shed a light on it and, and people can learn from it. You don't try to make up their minds for them. You give them the information that they need so they can make up their own minds. And then maybe if you're very lucky, they do something about it.
Tonight we recognize the impactful journalism that spurred action. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 65th Annual Scripps Howard Awards, live from Memorial Hall in Cincinnati.
Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lara Logan, correspondent for 60 Minutes, and I am honored to be hosting the 65th Annual Scripps Howard Awards. We are here this evening to celebrate the year's best journalism, and it is all the winners in the back row, it is your winning work that sets the journalistic bar for higher excellence. The Scripps Howard Foundation believes in giving light and changing lives. And tonight's winners, they shine light to expose injustices, uncover truth, and also to hold those in positions of power accountable. So among the winning work tonight, we have a reckoning on sexual harassment and abuse, an expose on the voiceless victims of the opioid crisis, the babies who are born addicted, and an immersive documentary on the powerless in Puerto Rico. It's this work that inspires me, and I believe it inspires all of us, our peers, to be better journalists. One of tonight's winners will take home the inaugural Impact Award. It honors the year's best work, and it comes with a $10,000 prize. Thank you, and congratulations to all of the award winners. We want to express our gratitude to the E.W. Scripps Company and station WCPO 9 on your side. I had to ask Chip how to say that, 9 on your side, for all of their support for tonight's awards. A warm welcome to those watching at home across the country and to those here, all of you at Memorial Hall. This event has been sold out for weeks. Also here this evening are members of the Board of Directors of the Scripps Howard Foundation, the E.W. Scripps Company, and the Scripps and Howard families. I have an enormous amount of respect for these families who are behind this foundation and the company because they have an unwavering commitment to a free and independent press and for their concern for the well-being of the communities that are served by Scripps. The values that they look for and the stories which they recognize on an evening like this are the values that they truly do live by every single day. And that is extraordinary. Some of them are here among us this evening, welcome, and will be presenting. The Scripps Howard Foundation is dedicated to improving lives in the communities that are served by the E.W. Scripps Company. And in addition to honoring journalism, that's not all they do. They will award $150,000 in grants to 2 organizations, both of which support childhood literacy.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment that we've been waiting for, let's begin with the Specialty Awards. Here is the work of our winner in the visual journalism category.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence in visual journalism. The winner is Leah Millis from the San Francisco Chronicle.
Leah had the most well-rounded body of work. Her entries were all issue-oriented.
In one project, Millis created a short film and photographs after spending 10 months with a transgender boy and his family.
My friend came up to me and said, "Hey, maybe I'm transgender." And I said, "I think I definitely am." I felt like I found the piece. Like in a scavenger hunt, when you find the last clue, you feel really happy. But I felt that times infinity.
In another video and series of photographs, Millis told the story of a family forced apart. The parents deported to Mexico while their daughters stayed in California.
Here, I get up in the morning and I make sure Jesus is ready to go to school. He eats breakfast, stare out the window, hoping that I'm just dreaming, wishing that if I open my eyes, I can see the girls, even though I know I cannot.
The immigrant deportation story was just gut-wrenching, left me in tears.
She just really had a strong overall package, a lot of intimate connections with her subjects.
She had, great, technical range with both the video and the stills, her audio, her composition, her use of light.
She went above and beyond. She just had a real discerning eye to pull out the special moments.
Vice President and Bureau Chief for the Scripps Washington Bureau and Scripps Howard Foundation trustee Ellen Weiss presents the Scripps Howard Award for Visual Journalism and a check for $10,000 to Leah Millis from the San Francisco Chronicle.
As a journalist, I have the distinct honor to be welcomed into the lives of strangers. I hope that through my work I can bridge the gaps between us, or shed light on just how colossal some of those divides have become, because I believe that empathy is the answer. I would like to thank Scripps for honoring me with this award, for recognizing the important role journalism has in a functioning democracy. Thank you for honoring the stories of transgender youth who are statistically less likely to attempt suicide when they are seen and allowed to live as their true selves like James, and for honoring the stories of the deported and the families they leave behind. Thank you to my editors for trusting me and allowing me the time necessary to tell these important stories. Thank you to my colleagues and to my wife and my family. I would not be standing here without you. Lastly, I'd like to dedicate this award to the brave people who let me into their lives and trusted me with their stories. To James, Olivia, Sarah, and Ben. To Maria, Eusebio, Vianney, Jesus, and Meline. To Ashley. Thank you. I still think of you, all of you, almost every day.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence in opinion writing. The Walker Stone Award. The winner, Melinda Henneberger. Commentary from the Kansas City Star. Melinda Henneberger's columns transported readers to a different time and place, ranging in subjects from conditions in Sudan to an accused sexual assailant eluding justice to the transformation of Missouri Senator Claire McCaskill into a down-home country woman.
She wrote us an excellent series of columns on various subjects, all of them impeccably well written, all of them well reported, and all of them with a clear point of view.
none of the columns she wrote were anything that you could just sit down and write. You had to go out there and be a good reporter.
My chairman said in her comments, she takes people to a place they can't go and shows them what it's like.
The more challenged our journalism landscape becomes, the more valuable and valued should be winners like the one we chose from the Kansas City Star.
David Giles, Deputy General Counsel and Chief Ethics Officer for E.W. Scripps and Scripps Howard Foundation Trustee, presents the Walker Stone Award for Opinion and a check for $10,000 to Melinda Henneberger from the Kansas City Star.
That is a very sturdy award. I really want to thank Scripps Howard for supporting what we do. We appreciate it so much. And of course, I want to thank my paper, the Kansas City Star, and my wonderful editor there, Colleen McCain Nelson, for letting me do journalism that I'm really more idealistic about today than my first day in the business 34 years ago on the night cops beat in Dallas. I really want to thank the people of Kansas and Missouri, Sudan and Uganda who let me tell their stories in these columns. Our publisher, Tony Berg, who no matter how much trouble we cause him, really only comes around to be supportive. To my smart, generous colleagues on the editorial board, especially Derek Donovan, without whom we would all be lost, and in the newsroom who make me so proud to work there every day. I met my husband, Bill Turk, 34 years ago also during my first job, and whenever we make a toast, we toast to the people's right to know. So tonight, to Scripps Howard, to all of you for never forgetting for whom we really work, to the First Amendment, to our pain in the derriere role in safeguarding democracy, and always, most of all, to the people's right to know. Thank you so much.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence in environmental reporting. The Edward J. Meeman Award. The winner is Cale Williams of the Oregonian, Oregon Live for the Loneliest Polar Bear.
It's a beautifully written, really thoughtful work of environmental journalism. It is the story of one polar bear in particular, born at a zoo in Ohio, and her life as she went from zoo to zoo and had to be raised and taught to be a polar bear. But he uses this, of course, irresistible subject for really deep ends, to explore the plight of polar bears in the wild, to talk about how difficult it is to raise animals in captivity, and to explore real philosophical questions about the roles of zoos today, both in animal conservation and in educating the public.
Cale Williams wrote a 5-part series for the Oregonian. Williams and the news team also produced a documentary, a children's book, and even a board game to teach children about the plight of polar bears.
It became much more than just a story about a cute little polar bear, and really much more about what we're doing to the earth.
The story attracted 200,000 unique visitors on the NORA Project site. 1.2 million people have watched the videos on Facebook and YouTube.
They needed to get into people's consciousness, or to get the story in front of the people they needed to get it in front of. And they did those things. They made you sit up and they made you pay attention.
Marilyn Scripps, great-granddaughter of E.W. Scripps, presents the Edward J. Meeman Award for environmental reporting and a check for $10,000 to Cale Williams from the Oregonian, Oregon Live.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the Scripps Howard Foundation for recognizing this story.
My byline is on it, but there were so many other people who poured their hearts into this. Thank you to Kelly French, who helped craft and shape this story into its final form. To Carly Imus, who acted more like my therapist than my boss on more than one occasion. To Lizzie Acker, who turned this complicated story into a children's book so a younger generation could start to comprehend the tremendous challenges we face. To Dave Killen and Stephanie Yao Long, who crafted the documentary you all just saw a snippet of. To Grant Butler, Lynn Palumbo, Melissa Lewis, Dave Kanzler, Mark Friesen, Mark Graves, Randy Mishler, Nora Simon, Julie Evenson, Ryan Fernandez, and Megan Otto, who all did so much behind the scenes and rarely got credit for any of it. I also have to thank our editor, Mark Catches, who made this whole thing possible. It took me a solid month of reporting before I began to see the bigger story here. But these climate stories are everywhere, and they'll affect us all. Whether we're reporters at a fancy award ceremony, or farmers in the Midwest, or hungry polar bears looking for seals to eat. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the people who gave me so much of their time. The zookeepers and veterinarians and animal rights advocates who let me pester them incessantly. The scientists who painstakingly explained their complex research and trusted me to get it right. And lastly, to the people of Wales, Alaska, who didn't bat an eye when we showed up in their village and started peppering them with questions. They are among the ones most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. We owe it to them and people like them to tell their stories. Thank you.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence in business and financial reporting. The William Brewster Stiles Award. The winner, Reuters, for the body trade. A Reuters team exposed a system of getting donated human bodies in the U.S. and selling body parts for profit. Reporters explained how some so-called body brokers operated unethically and at times illegally.
I had trouble reading some of the stories, but they remembered always that these were real people and their families who were trying to do something good by donating their bodies, but then they were treated horribly.
The main thing that struck me was that this practice has been unregulated apparently forever.
I think the depth of reporting was extraordinary, and they used not only sort of modern database type techniques, but old-fashioned reporting and trying to convince people to talk about something very difficult, and they were successful.
As part of the series, Reuters made a video inside a small family firm of body brokers.
The Poe O'Reillys are small players in the big business of supplying human tissue for research and testing. But they show how almost anyone with a source of bodies and a bit of pluck can get into this industry.
I couldn't stop reading. I couldn't feel anything but empathy. I couldn't help think there, but for the grace of God, was my family. And so I was really touched. And again, it made me connect. That's what great reporting does. And this was a business story. That often doesn't happen.
Robin Davis, Vice President of Strategy and Corporate Development for the E.W. Scripps Company and Scripps Howard Foundation trustee, presents the William Brewster Stiles Award for Business and Financial Reporting and a check for $10,000 to Reuters. Accepting on its behalf is John Schiffman.
Thanks very much. Thanks to the Scripps Howard Foundation and to Scripps Howard for this wonderful event. The person I'd like to thank most is Brian Groh. He's my partner on this story. This was his idea. Brian called me about a year ago and said, people are selling body parts for profit. And I said, no, you can't do that. That's illegal. And he said, actually, it's perfectly legal. And I think sometimes in journalism, the best stories are when you find something that's perfectly legal, but perhaps shouldn't be. I'd also like to thank our team, Reed Levinson, Elizabeth Culliford, Zach Goldman, Mike Wood, and Nick Bogle-Burrows. I'd also like to thank our Reuters editors for the ambition and the time it took and the guts to allow us to actually buy body parts as part of this story. We bought 2 human heads and a spine, which shouldn't be allowed. I'd like to thank Blake Morrison and Mike Williams, our editors, for the guts to back such a purpose and to have us do it ethically. And most of all, we want to thank the families of the people who donated their bodies to science, but never dreamed that people would profit from this generous, unselfish gift or to abuse it. Especially, we'd like to thank the family of Cody Saunders, who's a young man who donated his body, and his parents were so kind to tell us the whole story. Finally, I would like to dedicate this to Walon and Kwasu U, our Reuters colleagues who are currently being held in Miramar for simply doing their jobs, for being reporters. Thank you.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence in breaking news. The winner, the San Francisco Chronicle for Wine Country Fires. In early October of last year, wine country in Northern California became the site of the worst disaster in the state's history. The fires killed 45 people, burned nearly 9,000 buildings, and blackened an area nearly 8 times the size of San Francisco. After 11 p.m. on October 8th, a deputy metro editor at the San Francisco Chronicle smelled smoke in his neighborhood. Soon after, the editor filed the first story by any news outlet. And by 8 a.m., the deputy editor updated the story 31 times.
They were all over this fire from the minute it broke. I can't really think of anything that they could have done differently.
The Chronicle created a landing page, sent alerts about new evacuations, and built an interactive map with block-by-block fire information.
It was a textbook example of surrounding the story on all platforms, and they did it with very high-quality art and photography mixed in on the social media platforms, their Twitter feeds, as well as their website and the newspaper itself. A lot of their reporters were at risk, and they just did a phenomenal job of public service reporting, of telling people what was going on and where they should be and shouldn't be, where they could get help. But also, importantly, within the first 2 or 3 days of the story, they started really working on some of the deeper accountability issues, problems with the alert system, problems with air quality, problems with the system that was supposed to be set up to get firefighters and equipment in from other localities. So they really quickly made a pivot to a deeper kind of accountability reporting, and it was impressive.
Jeff Brogan, Vice President and General Manager, Scripps Station WCPO 9 on Your Side, presents the Breaking News Award and a check for $10,000 to the San Francisco Chronicle. Accepting on the team's behalf are Audrey Cooper and Damian Bulwer.
Thank you. We would like to, first of all, acknowledge the other finalists in this category, including our sister newsroom in Houston, which did an amazing job during Harvey. These fires, this award and these fires is really important to our newsroom because above all else, this is very nice, but it shows us that the work that our newsroom did means that the 45 people who died in the most horrific disaster in California history didn't die in vain. And the person I think who is most responsible for this is standing behind me. I think, he doesn't know I'm going to say this, but I think on that night, he thought his own house was on fire, and I think he saved as many people that night as some firefighters did. So, Damian.
Some credit should go to my wife, who said, "Do you smell something?" It was about 11:30 on a Sunday night, and I did. I thought there was a kitchen fire, and raced downstairs and started to call in dozens of people. And the experience of covering this fire ended up being extremely humbling because the energy from the story came from every corner of the newsroom. It had to. I mean, that's the way newsrooms are today. At one point, I live obviously pretty close to the worst of the fires, and I had a reporter and photographer team that I invited to stay with me. They're actually both here, although they no longer work for the Chronicle, unfortunately. But they arrived after I went to bed, and they were gone in the morning, just leaving the smell of smoke from their fire suits. So this is really a award for the whole Chronicle newsroom, and I'd like to thank the Scripps Howard Foundation for recognizing everyone.
The Scripps Howard Foundation, in partnership with Google News Lab, honors excellence in community journalism. The winner, the Bristol Herald Courier, for Addicted at Birth.
It bothers me a lot because I don't want him to suffer.
They're kind of like all hyped up because of this withdrawal of the opioid, and what we do is we basically replace the opioid and then taper it down slowly.
The Bristol Herald Courier in Bristol, Virginia, spent 7 months investigating the alarming rate of babies born with an opioid addiction called neonatal abstinence syndrome in Tennessee and Virginia.
The winning work. It was an astonishing entry from a tiny 16,500 circulation newspaper that covered every possible angle of an underreported story. I knew nothing about neonatal abstinence syndrome, and they hit this about babies born addicted because their mothers were on opioids during the pregnancy. They hit every angle.
And they really dove really deep into how this is impacting.
Serious. We say thank you to Scripps Howard Foundation and the contest judges. Our coverage area of East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia is considered the epicenter of the nation's opioid epidemic. We have reported on its effects for many years, but in 2017 we committed significant time and resources to examine the incredible rise in babies with neonatal abstinence syndrome. We looked at what is being done and what isn't. We received insight from healthcare providers, researchers, law enforcement personnel, prosecutors, and social workers. We say a very special thank you to the mothers of these babies who allowed us to tell their stories, both heartbreaking and hopeful. This series engaged readers by stripping away anonymity and giving the victims faces and names. Perhaps most importantly, it prompted state lawmakers to take long overdue action. Thank you again, and congratulations to all of tonight's winners.
This team was very, very excited to win this award, and here you can see their newsroom reacting to their win while they were watching the winner's announcement. So this is how we hope everyone felt when they found they won a Scripps Howard Award, right? Okay, now let's look at the work of the winner in distinguished service to the First Amendment.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence for distinguished service to the First Amendment, the Edward Willis Scripps Award. The winner, the Kansas City Star, for Why So Secret, Kansas.
It hit me right away. The Kansas City Star staff revealed a staggering amount of suppression by state agencies and the legislature in the state of Kansas. They kept the public in the dark about many basic policies and procedures.
The 6-part series exposed problems in many state agencies in Kansas, from deadly secrecy in the child welfare system to the passing of anonymous bills in the state legislature. The Kansas City Star questioned the weak transparency laws for law enforcement and the state's mysterious privatized Medicaid program.
It shed light in every corner of Kansas government, and they really took a state government that was shrouded in darkness and made it virtually a temple of transparency. It was such an impressive, sustained effort over 6 months. Agencies started changing their policies, the legislature got involved, and so it instilled in people an appreciation for having the knowledge that government sometimes hides from them.
Rich Bainey, chairman of the board of directors for the E.W. Scripps Company, presents the Edward Willis Scripps Award for distinguished service to the First Amendment and $10,000 to Andy Marceau and Brian Lowry from the Kansas City Star.
I want to thank the Scripps Howard Foundation. We're incredibly honored and humbled to accept this award on behalf of the entire Kansas City Star team. This was very much a team effort. More than a dozen reporters, editors, videographers, digital journalists, and designers collaborated on this project, spending a lot of long hours to make this project work so well on both the web and on the printed page. I want to thank our readers, most of all. The fact that this work resonated with Kansans and led them to demand change from their elected representatives is extremely gratifying and exciting. Change is happening even in Kansas. And we want to thank our fellow journalists, both in Kansas and across the nation, who struggle for public records and fight for transparency. Your work matters. Thank you.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence in human interest storytelling. The Ernie Pyle Award. The winner, John Woodrow Cox of The Washington Post. The Washington Post John Woodrow Cox series explored how children are traumatized by gun violence. Primarily from the perspective of the children themselves, Woodrow Cox writes haunting stories of first graders in Townville, South Carolina, a second grader in Washington, D.C., and a 4-year-old in Ohio. Young people in Virginia, and teenagers at the Las Vegas Country Music Concert. Each child forever changed by some form of gun violence.
It was not only a very difficult read, but a very necessary read.
This was a look at the effects that linger well after most of the news crews are gone, and it was really eye-opening. He was able to get it through the eyes of a child. What really brought this one home is those little details.
There was a detail about a young girl who dropped her cupcake after a shooting occurred at her elementary school, and remembered her mother told her to run as fast as you can, as far away as you can.
He sat next to a 7-year-old who was grieving for his father. He was in the schools where a child witnessed murder.
There were amazing statistics in that story that will force people to think about the ramifications of gun violence in a slightly different way. We don't often think about the long-term psychological impacts on children who witness it.
The reporter was able to understand and to have access to children in a way that I've never seen. This one just emerged from the pile. And sometimes you just see something that speaks to you and that speaks to other people and that has such an impact.
Scripps Howard Foundation trustee Paul Scripps presents the Ernie Pyle Award for Human Interest Storytelling and a $10,000 check to John Woodrow Cox of the Washington Post.
Thank you. It is such an honor to win this prize, and most of all because it is named for Ernie Pyle, a man who embodied the best of our profession and whose work I've admired for many years. Now, though, I'd like to very briefly thank a few extraordinary women without whom I would not have the privilege to stand up here tonight. First, my late grandmother, Ruth, who taught me how to listen. My mom, Nan, who, when I was a college sophomore and adrift and unsure of what I wanted to do with my future, told me I should give journalism a try. My editor, Linda Robinson, who's here tonight and has been so instrumental in my work and in my life. My wife and partner, Jen, whose intelligence, wisdom, and compassion inspires me to do better and work harder every day. Also, happy birthday. And finally, to the mothers who, over this past year, said yes to me, a stranger, when again and again I asked to tell the stories of their children, whose lives have been forever changed by gun violence. It was their decisions and their trust and their bravery that allowed this work to exist, and I am forever grateful. Thank you.
At the core, the Scripps mission is dedication to serving our audiences, a passion for being authentic. That's how we got our start, and 140 years later, our light has never shined so bright. Changing with the times is our culture. We evolve. We're out front with new ideas, new ways of using technology, and what's truly important right now to the people we serve. We're fighters for the First Amendment, committed to journalism and impactful storytelling, to connecting with and entertaining our audiences, to serving businesses locally and nationally, to providing great content across any platform where consumers want to find us. It's what they expect and better trust us to provide. As leaders in the media industry, we're not afraid to take chances. From coast to coast, we're local media brands embedded in our communities. We're Newsy, the Cates Networks, Stitcher, Midroll, Emmy-nominated Pickler and Ben. We're celebrating the next generation with the Scripps National Spelling Bee and deliberate about giving back with the Scripps Howard Foundation. At the core, the Scripps ethos is simple. Give light, and the people will find their own way.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President and CEO of the E.W. Scripps Company, Adam Simpson.
Thanks, Laura. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 65th Annual Scripps Howard Awards. I'm honored to be a part of this prestigious event for the first time as President and CEO of Scripps. In the past, as an audience member, I've found myself overwhelmed with pride and emotion just having the chance to watch and celebrate the work of the winners on stage. As an investigative journalist by trade and still in my heart, it's my privilege to be surrounded by the best of American journalism. Those of you here in the audience and those of you tuning into the live stream, it's my pleasure to celebrate with you. At the E.W. Scripps Company, we're known for our entrepreneurial spirit, as well as our ability to see ahead and around corners, to seize the opportunities that come as a result of the changes in our industry. And no matter what, there's one pillar on which we stand firm, and that's our commitment to journalism. 140 years ago, when Edward Willis Scripps created the penny press for the working class of Cleveland, he set out to educate and objectively inform those who couldn't afford his competitors' papers. And unlike the competition of the day, he refused to be bought by politicians or business people. Revolutionary at the time, E.W. wrote in the penny press's first issue, "It is no part of a newspaper's business to array itself on the side of this or that party, to fight or lie or wrangle for it." And 14 decades later, we think E.W.'s words still hold true today. As journalists, we must remain vigilant in our charge to provide context and perspective with objectivity and, above all, independence. We have an obligation to the people of this country and a responsibility to fight for and safeguard the freedom of the press that comes with the guarantees of the First Amendment. At Scripps, we live our mission every day through the daily news reporting of our local and national newsrooms, the enterprise journalism practiced by special projects and investigative teams, and the forward-thinking and authentic ways we bring stories to life. We stand arm in arm with the journalists here tonight in this room and abroad. While at times we may compete for viewers, readers, or listeners, there's kinship among us. Journalism is a calling. We have chosen for our life's work collectively to create a better informed world. Our industry's role as the fourth estate is more important than ever. In a time when it may feel uncomfortable for the news media, we must continue to be a voice for the voiceless and hold the powerful accountable. It's our mission to shine a light on injustice and relentlessly pursue the truth. Tonight's honorees exemplify this purpose, and while carrying out their mission, they do it with finesse and care. They paint pictures with their words. They take us inside events as they unfold. They diagnose, they explain and reveal. They capture complex stories with just a few frames. They intrigue, provoke, and foster empathy. This evening's award finalists and winners tackled topics that changed the course of people's lives, often with risk to themselves. Our honorees placed themselves in harm's way to cover natural disasters and war zones. From a daily local newspaper to globally known media powerhouses, the journalists here tonight represent the very best of our industry. Later in the show, we'll recognize one of these finalists with the inaugural Impact Award, this competition's highest honor. This award recognizes journalism that serves the public through coverage of an issue that's led to change. It honors what our judges deem to be the work of journalism that's made the greatest impact. On behalf of all of us at the E.W. Scripps Company, the Scripps and Howard families, and the Scripps Howard Foundation, whose commitment to journalism and the free press are foundational to all we do, we are honored to celebrate your success. Thank you for giving light so that the people will find their own way. Thanks, everybody. Joining me now on stage is President and CEO of the Scripps Howard Foundation, Liz Carter.
Thank you, Adam. The work of the Scripps Howard Foundation is made possible by the generosity of the Scripps and Howard families, the E.W. Scripps Company, Scripps employees, and retirees. The foundation empowers journalists and enriches the communities where the E.W. Scripps Company has a presence. Here's our story.
Bringing people together for a better informed world. The vision of E.W. Scripps. And that vision inspired leaders from the Scripps and Howard families to act on a deeper commitment to the power of journalism and truly change lives. Since 1962, the Scripps Howard Foundation has empowered and recognized extraordinary journalists across the country. The foundation holds true to its mission of doing well by doing good, with community funds set aside that help to feed the hungry, improve literacy, end domestic violence, and so much more. Because serving those around us serves us all. The Scripps Howard Foundation, giving light, changing lives.
Okay, we're just 7 awards away from the Impact Award. And it could be any of you walking away with this statue right here and another $10,000. But first, we have 4 platform awards to announce. Here is the winner for broadcast local coverage.
When's the last time you smoked marijuana?
Oh, I don't do that. I can give you a drug test right now.
3 DUI drug arrests.
So you arrested me because you think I smoke marijuana?
I believe that you're impaired by cannabis. Yes, ma'am.
All 3 blood tests negative for marijuana. The charges were eventually dropped.
WXIA's Brendan Keefe led a 5-part investigation uncovering arrests of people driving under the influence of marijuana, only to have their blood tests come back negative. The innocent people spent the night in jail, then months and thousands of dollars clearing their names.
One day I'm going to go and get a real job and people are going to be able to Google my name and see that I was arrested for drugs that I didn't do.
Drug Whisperer by WXIA was an outstanding piece. This is a case of a police department that has taught its police how to judge if somebody is impaired by marijuana. And it's a real hocus pocus kind of test. And so they're arresting innocent people.
Is there a human element once you get advanced training that causes you to see things that are either there or not there?
I don't have an answer for that. I would, that argument could probably be made that I have this new training and I'm going to go out and show the world that I know how to do all this stuff and I'm going to take advantage of my new latest toy. Maybe.
The American Civil Liberties Union is representing 4 of the 5 victims WXIA uncovered. Following the investigation, the Cobb County Police Department changed its policies for handling drivers suspected of marijuana impairment. Hundreds of others nationwide reached out to the station to report similar arrests.
The reporter did an outstanding job as a one-man band, slogging through records, fighting with the Cobb County Police Department, getting actualities of the cameras that were on the police to hear what was being said.
I don't have a magical drug test, but I can give you one.
It was a remarkable piece of reporting.
Foundation trustee Jack Howard Potter, grandson of Jack R. Howard and great-grandson of Roy W. Howard, presents the Jack R. Howard Award for broadcast local coverage to Brendan Keefe from WXIA TV, Atlanta.
I'm going to do this in 360 VR here. How do you explain this to the TSA? No, really, it's an award. Trust me, it's an award. It's such an honor to be here tonight. And first and foremost, I want to thank the other finalists, my friends and colleagues like Craig Cheatham and Dan Monk, who I worked with at WCPO, and also my Tegna colleagues from WFAA. It's an honor to be back here in Cincinnati, where I spent 7 years as an anchor and chief investigative reporter for the Scripps flagship station, WCPO 9 on your side. It's also good to see all my former Scripps colleagues here, so many of them, Brian Lawler and Rich Bainey and Jeff Brogan and Chip Mahaney. I served as a table captain for this very award and an ambassador for the Scripps Howard Foundation Awards several times, watching in awe as the giants of our craft stepped up to accept this prestigious award. So it is truly humbling to have my work recognized here, especially as a solo journalist who does all his own research, photography, reporting, clearly and editing as well. I want to thank my photographer, and who is grossly underpaid. Thank you also to the Scripps Howard Foundation, of course, the judges, my fellow honorees, and all of the journalists here assembled tonight. Thank you also to Adam Simpson, who blazed a trail, really, for all of us in investigative reporting with his groundbreaking work. Many people don't realize the CEO was once an investigative producer doing amazing work in Los Angeles and across the nation. Investigative reporting is enjoying a renaissance, and its time has come. When alerts and apps tell us what happened, investigative journalists, we tell you why it happened. The result is original, engaging, enterprise reporting that makes our communities better and safer places in which to live. Did anyone here get a speeding ticket on I-75 driving through Arlington Heights tonight? No, you didn't. You also, in Lincoln Heights, didn't get beat up by the police, because citizens don't get beat up there anymore. And people don't get speeding tickets in Arlington Heights because both police departments completely shut down after my investigative reports for WCPO. Think of that. Both corrupt departments no longer exist simply because a one-man band reporter asked why. The Scripps Howard Award for this investigation started with that same question, why? Why are innocent drivers getting arrested for driving under the influence of drugs when their blood tests came back clean? Nearly a year and 5 major investigative pieces later, we had the answer. Officers were taught to trust their training as being more reliable than a blood test. Journalism is a calling, one that often takes us away from our families for extended periods of time. My son Ian is here tonight in the back of the room, and he turns 11 this weekend. The only thing he wanted for his birthday was to come back to Cincinnati, and I told him the only condition was he had to sit through a long speech by his dad. And Tanya O'Rourke's laughing a little extra hard there as my former co-anchor. Well, I say to you, son, what my father said to me. You can choose to do whatever you want with your life. You can be a garbage man if you like, he said, but just be the best darn garbage man in the world. And I'll add my own take, son, to my dad's wisdom. Don't just be the best in your chosen profession. Make the world a better place and always hold the powerful accountable. Thank you.
Now we want to take a moment to congratulate all 30 finalists of the Scripps Howard Awards. And it was extremely difficult for our judges to narrow the field and to pick just one winner from each category. So the finalists also deserve recognition. And there is one team of finalists from the broadcast local coverage who are here with us this evening. Please, everybody, can you give Dan Monk, Craig Cheatham, and Lot Tan from WCPO a round of applause, and all of our finalists. Congratulations. Now we have the winner of the Broadcast National or International Award.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence in broadcast national and international coverage. The Jack R. Howard Award, the winner, CBS News for Ambush in Niger. Correspondent Deborah Pata and her crew were the only media to reach the site of a deadly ambush in Niger last October. 4 U.S. soldiers died in the attack.
CBS was able to get a correspondent and crew into the area, into the very space, into the very place where the killings had occurred. Their findings were in direct conflict with what the Pentagon was saying at the very same time. One of the things that I truly appreciate about this work is that it also broke the old stereotype of the male war correspondent. It was Deborah Pata who, from CBS News, was there on the ground at a very dangerous time.
Initially, a few ISIS fighters drew the troops to this spot. They burnt down that school and then pushed them in this direction to where the ambush actually took place over there.
So to have Deborah Pata on the ground talking to people in the villages who were eyewitnesses to it is profoundly important. I mean, that's what you want in journalism.
If you don't have journalists over there willing to risk their lives, willing to go far away in places that are not just foreign in the nature of geography, but foreign in terms of everything around the human experience, then we only get one side of the story. We need your eyes and your ears and your voice and your courage to go back and do the next one.
Ellen Weiss returns to the stage to present the Jack R. Howard Award for broadcast national or international coverage and a $10,000 check to CBS News. Accepting on behalf of the CBS News team, Sarah Carter Meshach Dubé, who cannot be here, is Deborah Pata.
I'm very proud to work for a network like CBS News, which is passionate about covering Africa at a time when many media organizations are cutting back on international coverage. Last year, Americans woke up to find out that they had 800 troops in Niger, a country which many people had never even heard of, and where there is very little public or congressional scrutiny and oversight. It was a tough assignment going to the village of Tonga Tonga and trying to find some measure of truth amid the dust storms and the chaos and the various jihadi groups operating there. But it was tougher even for the villagers of Tonga Tonga who bravely told us their stories. They have to stay there. We got to leave. But thanks to an amazing team, Meshach Dube, Sarah Carter, Carl Taylor, Amadou Himadou, Nikki Parkin, Andy Clark and Heather Abbott, we were able to shine a light on a pretty dark corner of the globe where 5 Nigerians and 4 US troops were killed in an ambush that should never have happened. And of course, we couldn't do this without our families who continue to support us, even when other school mums raise their eyebrows in horror that instead of assisting with our children's outfits for the school play, we are once again in a war zone. Thank you.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence in radio or podcast coverage. The Jack R. Howard Award. The winner, NPR's Rough Translation, The Congo We Listen To. Rough Translation took a second look at the international story of hundreds of women raped in a Congolese village and found serious discrepancies in previous reports.
The reporter went in and started asking questions and got, what can only be described as that feeling that longtime reporters get in the pit of their stomach that something wasn't quite right.
There was just like a weird emotional connection that was sort of missing.
So that interview ends. Another woman is escorted in. And when that woman's finished and a third interview starts and the same thing happens, Laura starts noticing in herself the very last thing that she expected to feel when she arrived here. It was
doubt.
Doubt.
The Rough Translation episode explores how and why the number of women raped in the Congo sometimes became embellished.
People were really telling them, these Western reporters, the story that they thought they wanted to hear. It was very well reported, it was very well written, it was very well produced, it was very well told. It felt essential in some way.
Scripps Howard Foundation trustee and vice president of local media operations for the E.W. Scripps Company, Ed Fernandez, presents the Jack R. Howard Award for radio or podcast in-depth coverage and a $10,000 check to NPR's Rough Translation. Accepting on behalf of the Rough Translation team is Michael May.
Thanks so much to the Scripps Howard Foundation. And I'm honored to take this on behalf of the whole Rough Translation team. So my job at NPR is to support our reporters and producers when they have innovative ideas. In 2016, well, then East Africa correspondent Gregory Warner had an idea for a podcast, and the idea was, instead of looking for what's exotic elsewhere, the idea would be to look more at how the conversations we're already having here are being played out in other parts of the world. And so in this case, we asked, how have Western aid organizations really almost single-minded focus on rape as a war crime in the conflict in Congo? And how does that affect the way that Congolese women tell this story and how their story is heard in Congo? And we, found some surprising answers. So this story began with a freelancer, Laura Heaton, and she had the courage and the persistence to really ask tough questions about what was reported as the largest mass rape ever in a conflict. It happened deep in the Congolese forest, very far, where, if you're going to report on this story, you're probably only going to make this journey once, but she was actually working on other things in that area at the time and had reason to go and stay a while longer than most people did. And when she started publishing her findings, she was attacked for asking those questions by Western aid workers, advocates. And what Greg realized was that the story of her telling this story was really kind of a story in and of itself. And I just want to say we're donating a portion of this award, and I just want to dedicate this award to the Pansy Foundation in Eastern Congo, whose staff work with Congolese women to overcome violence. They really trusted us to tell this story with the complexity it deserves, and definitely couldn't have done it without them. So, thank you.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence in multimedia journalism. The winner, The Washington Post, for Send Loose, Life Without Power.
Lo poquito que teníamos, pues lo perdimos.
Me siento abandonado por el Estado, la verdad.
¿Sabes? El mundo cambió. Básicamente esto cambió.
In November, The Washington Post sent a small team of journalists to Puerto Rico after two powerful hurricanes destroyed the island's electrical grid.
It was really the only piece that we saw that was truly a multimedia experience, where the media itself actually led you through the stories. It made up the backbone of the story.
And this really used video, it used text, it used graphics and maps, and 3D renderings even that they built in this perfectly cohesive way to tell one incredible story.
They also were able to get, drone photography. They were able to get all these videos, scenes from people who live there, what their daily life is like.
You can feel, in terms of sound, the light or the lack of light, and the struggle of just what it takes every day to do the laundry, to make a cup of coffee, how schools are able to even proceed with educating students. You see people reverting to such crude ways of coping with day-to-day life. This was a stunning, empathetic reminder of what happens when most of the news folks go away. And this is what life is like day in and day out when the lights go down.
Charlie Barmundi, Scripps Howard Foundation trustee, member of the E.W. Scripps Company's board of directors, and great-great-grandson of E.W. Scripps, presents the Multimedia Journalism Award and $10,000 to the Washington Post, accepting on the team's behalf are Zoanne Murphy, Arelise Hernandez, and Whitney Leeming.
Thank you. It's so exciting to be here tonight. Thank you to Scripps for this incredible honor. When Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, the Post deployed writers, photographers, videographers to cover the breaking news there. While in the field, we quickly recognized that we were witnessing the unfolding of a humanitarian crisis, a story that required a deeper exploration. Our editors, Rima Cod, Kat Downs, and Ann Gerhardt, pulled together a team of 18 journalists, and we pitched a long-form multimedia approach that would weave together the various mediums we work in. We wanted to combine the intimacy of video with the context and analysis of the writing. We wanted to immerse audiences in the experience of living without electricity. We aimed to show both the daily struggles and the inspiring resilience that we were seeing. This project was published in December, but the story is far from over. Yesterday, Puerto Rico experienced an island-wide blackout, and tens of thousands of Americans are still without power there. This award is dedicated to them, and we want to make a special shout out to one of the families featured in the project, the Ortiz family. This is for them as well. They're watching on Facebook Live right now, so to them.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Liz Cotter.
The Scripps Howard Foundation helps create a better informed world not only by supporting excellence in journalism, but also by promoting childhood literacy. It's important for children to begin learning reading concepts from the very start. Before a child is 3 years old, talking, singing, and reading books all foster early literacy skills. The Bob Scripps Community Fund of the Scripps Howard Foundation, in partnership with the Greater Cincinnati Foundation, Duke Energy Foundation, and WCPO 9 on Your Side, support nonprofits that empower parents with skills, confidence, and tools to help develop literacy and language skills. $150,000 is about to be awarded to 2 nonprofits. The finalists will receive $50,000 and the winner will receive $100,000. But before we announce the winner, let's take a look at our partner foundations that made these grants possible.
Across the Ohio-Kentucky region, we're listening to customers like you, and we're working hard to build the brighter energy future you and your family deserve. That's why we're making smart investments in the grid to improve reliability and prevent outages, to use more clean energy, and to give you better control over your energy use today and in the years ahead. We're Duke Energy, and we're building a smarter energy future for you.
It's a new day at the Greater Cincinnati Foundation. Help us build an even better community, the place you call home, with a brighter future for every single one of us.
How many times do you think that you've overdosed?
At least a dozen. They gave us stable housing. They gave us confidence, because when you get that low, you have none.
I need to make sure that somebody hears me so something bad doesn't happen.
I really don't feel safe, but I'm not afraid.
Please welcome Ellen Katz, President and CEO of the Greater Cincinnati Foundation, and Andrea Behannon, Community Relations Liaison from Duke Energy Foundation. Also joining us to present the $50,000 and $100,000 grants to our winners are Rebecca Scripps Brickner and Margaret Scripps Cleansing, the daughters of Bob Scripps. Bob is the namesake of the Scripps Howard Foundation's Community Fund.
So thanks, Liz. First, we want to congratulate our finalists.
The $50,000 finalist is the Cincinnati Early Learning Center. Deanna Lane, Vice President of Outside Services, please come and receive your $50,000 grant for the Learning Together program.
Learning Together is the Cincinnati Early Learning Center's mobile classroom that travels to impoverished areas in Hamilton County. It brings together children and their parents or other caregivers to learn about early childhood development. Reading and the love of books is the program's centerpiece. The nonprofit also assists families to access resources for health, housing, and employment. The program can be adapted based on family needs in their neighborhood, and a hearty congratulations to the Cincinnati Early Learning Center.
And now, the winner of the $100,000 grant, a warm congratulations to Brighton Center. Wanda Winkler, Executive President of Brighton Center, please come out, receive the $1,000 grant. The grant is for its Home Instruction for Parent of Preschool Youngsters program.
Following the National Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters Home Visitation Program, Brighton Center works with at-risk families to ensure that their children are given the language and literacy skills needed to make their early school experiences successful. Based in Northern Kentucky, Brighton Center empowers parents to become advocates in their children's education and engages them in activities with their children to foster a lifelong commitment to education. Wanda, you're welcome to say some words.
Wow, thank you so very, very much. We would like to express our deep appreciation and gratitude to Scripps Howard Foundation, the Greater Cincinnati Foundation, the Duke Energy Foundation, and WCPO 9 on Your Side for your strong belief in our work and for your deep understanding of how important family literacy is foundationally to not only kindergarten readiness, but educational success and lifelong learning. We're so excited how these funds will be used to advance the impact on the lives of the families we serve, not only the children that will see age-appropriate development, but the parents who are going to get the opportunity to increase their knowledge, their skills, and their confidence in being the first and most important teacher in their children's lives. So we're really excited about working with those families too to help them achieve their hopes and dreams and to become financially independent and self-sufficient. We know that we can't have strong learners without strong families and strong families without strong communities. So we truly, truly appreciate this investment in our families and in the community. Thank you so very much.
Finally, tonight we have our major award categories and, of course, the much anticipated Impact Award. But first, let's begin with our Topic of the Year Award.
The Scripps Howard Award honors excellence for the topic of the year, Divided America. The winner, Vice News for Charlottesville, Race and Terror. Vice News correspondent Ellie Reeve embedded with white nationalist protesters throughout a weekend in August 2017. The result, a riveting 22-minute documentary that revealed who was showing up and why on all sides.
You can't stop watching, and it's terrifying. It's incredible, and yet you learn so much.
This documentary about the 36 hours of what happened in Charlottesville was unlike any other story I've seen on the topic. It had an intimacy. Clearly, Vice News had invested in getting to know the motivation and the characters, particularly from the right. And we got an unvarnished look at what their motivation was. And we got at truths that I don't think other organizations have really been able to get.
We're not nonviolent. We'll kill these people if we have to.
Correspondent Ellie Reeve has reported on white nationalists for years.
Everybody in!
All right. There's a lot of preparation that went into it, building those relationships so that she could get that access, so she could jump in the van with them and not get kicked out.
Since its release, the documentary has been viewed more than 50 million times. We,
in our write-up, called it an icon. You know, it has become this sort of ground zero flashpoint of the way that the extremes of the conflict can play out. And there were many ways in which that just rose above everything else.
Brian Lawler, Scripps Howard Foundation trustee and president of local media, the E.W. Scripps Company, presents the Topic of the Year Award to Joe Locasio of Vice News.
Thank you. Ellie's sorry that she couldn't be here tonight. She's out on assignment, but I am honored to be here to accept this award on behalf of our organization. I want to thank the Scripps Howard Foundation for this award. I want to thank HBO. I'd like to thank our executive producers, Madeline Herringer and Josh Tirangel, and the entire team of Vice News. I was on the ground that day in Charlottesville, and we were right there when Heather Heyer was struck by that car. It should be remembered that people died that day. We remember that day, and we remember Heather, who fought passionately for her rights in her community and for people who couldn't fight for themselves. We're honored to give the money from this award to the Heather Heyer Foundation so that others can learn from her example and demand equality in our country. Thank you.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence and innovation. The Roy W. Howard Award. The winner, the Arizona Republic with the USA Today Network for The Wall.
I took a look at the building the wall across the U.S.-Mexico border. They approached it in a very smart and comprehensive and creative way and used innovation to service the journalism.
This was by far the most immersive. This was work that through drones, through virtual reality, through mapping, through video, took the reader and the viewer to a place that you couldn't get with just words.
You know, the people want to cross over and go through this is because they really want to live a better life.
It wasn't just, let's do this for the sake of doing it. It was, this story deserves compelling still photographs. This piece of the story deserves audio. This package was like a playbook of emerging best practices.
If you wanted to say, here's one piece of journalism that you should explore if you want to understand this issue, we feel confident that this is a piece that would fulfill any reader's needs.
Jack Howard Potter returns to the stage to present the Roy W. Howard Award for Innovation and $10,000 to the Arizona Republic with the USA Today Network. Accepting on the team's behalf are Kevin Portinga, Sean Sullivan, and Josh Susong.
Thank you. Like most great stories, the wall started with questions. Could a wall really be built? What would the unintended consequences be? Those questions would lead us on a trip unlike anything we had done before. What's most remarkable is not just what we learned about new technologies and innovative thinking, it's what we relearned about journalism.
So what did we relearn? That reporting is done best when we get out into the real world, even if it means costs and risks. The stories are best told when we capture people's attention. That data is best proven when everybody can see it for themselves. And the work that we do is best done when we do it together.
So we accept this award with such deep gratitude to so many people, to our reporters and photographers and editors and producers who worked in every border state and every time zone, to so many people along the border who shared their stories with us so we could try to answer those questions. Of course, to the Foundation for supporting all of us in this room. The promise of the wall was to tell the truth, and the promise we make now is to keep doing great work together. So thank you.
The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence in investigative journalism. The Ursula and Gilbert Farfel Prize. The winner, the New York Times for Harassed. The New York Times series ranged from enterprising stories that forced the removal of Bill O'Reilly at Fox News to those that got critical sources on record to reveal the serial abuse of Harvey Weinstein, but also broadened out to memorable reporting on Ford Motor Company, Louis C.K., and Vice News.
Harassed was really lit a fuse that appears is going to change a nation and make this country very different for the next generation.
We knew that these things were happening, but it took the New York Times to bring it to the forefront and add it to our consciousness and create a national movement.
People had to come forward to the media and share their very difficult stories.
There were instances where he would come up and smack me on my bottom. The day that really sent me over the edge. I was loading a robot, and he walked into the same cell that I'm in and grabs my behind. I turned around to him and I said, "Keep your hands to yourself. As I've told you plenty of times before, I'm not interested."
People who had stories to tell, but they didn't know if anybody wanted to hear those stories. They now realize that society does want to hear those stories and is ready to listen to those stories.
What made it impactful was the ability to take on some of the real rich and famous and then use them as the catalyst to change workplaces and organizations all across the country.
Dr. Dwayne Nellis, president of Ohio University, presents the Ursula and Gilbert Farfel Prize and a check for $20,000 to the New York Times, accepting on behalf of the Times Emily Steele and Michael Schmidt.
On behalf of reporters of the New York Times, we want to thank the Scripps Howard Foundation, the Farfel family, and Ohio University for this extraordinary honor. It was exactly a year ago today that Bill O'Reilly was fired after an investigation by Mike Schmidt and me exposed millions of dollars of sexual harassment settlements involving Mr. O'Reilly. We now know that there were 6 women who had been silenced after making allegations against him. And while there were others who had stories, we could only convince one to go on the record for that article. It took me flying to Los Angeles and showing up at her Pilates class to convince her. You see, when Mike and I were doing this reporting, it was before the Me Too movement had set off a global reckoning. And getting women to talk on the record about this issue was hard. They feared they would jeopardize their careers. They feared they wouldn't be believed. And a whirlwind of a year later, after extraordinary reporting by so many fearless reporters at the Times about Silicon Valley, Hollywood, a Ford auto plant in Chicago, and more, it's not an understatement to say that the world has started to change and that journalism really matters. Article after article, woman after woman found the courage to share their stories, and the world listened. In recent days, I've talked with a number of sources who trusted us to tell their stories. They all said how astounded they were that the experiences and the documents and the nuggets of information that they shared became a story that was bigger than any one of us. We are astounded by their bravery, and we dedicate this award to them.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Liz Carter and Adam Simpson for the final award of the evening, the inaugural Impact Award.
All right, we're proud to add the Impact Award this year.
This award recognizes journalism that's a catalyst to a firestorm of change, and the winner's name is right there in that envelope. But before we open it, let's hear what our judges had to say about the winner.
What struck all of us about the winning work was just the impact, the broad national, probably soon to be international impact of the story.
It's, I think, stands a very good chance of being the piece of journalism that we most remember 20 years from now, from 2017, and actually one of the bodies of journalism that people remember decades later.
One of our judges made the point as we were discussing the possible winner that this may have had the most impact of anything since the Watergate stories back in the 70s. And if that's not impact and that doesn't deserve an award, I don't know what else does.
Are y'all ready? This is it. The winner of the inaugural Impact Award is Harassed, New York Times. Congratulations. You all just came on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. We didn't prepare a speech for this, so. Thank you so much to the families, the foundation, and for everyone else for having us here. This is obviously an extraordinary honor, but it's also an extraordinary moment for journalism. We can reach people in so many ways that we didn't before. People are focused on our work, but at the same time we face enormous obstacles, whether it's a president that demeans us, a half the country that doesn't want to hear what we have to say. And looking at all of the work that we did tonight, we see how important it is in what we do and how it will be incredibly just paramount going forward. And thank you all for refocusing us on that and making our mission so clear. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can all agree that this here is an inspiring evening just to see the work that is done here. It's inspiring for me, and I've never lacked for passion for this job. So I would like to thank the Scripps family. They're the ones who invited me here this evening, and it means a lot to me, and I know, because I know them, how much it means to them. This is a big night for that family. The Scripps and the Howards believe, I think, well, all of us as journalists believe in. We believe in the truth and standing by the truth, standing up for the truth, and also, most importantly, that there is only one truth. So, thank you very, very much to everyone who joined us here at Memorial Hall in Cincinnati, and also to those of you who watched at home. And for those of you who are with us here in the theater in Texas, we say it's margarita time. In Cincinnati, you say, please stay and join us for a celebration downstairs in the ballrooms. Have a wonderful night. Thank you very much.
When you win a Scripps Award, the judges have seen something in your work that is exemplary. This is something that I want people to emulate and duplicate.
I think it's more important now than ever for us to really evaluate, what is good journalism, and that's why these awards are important as well. And so for the country and for citizens of this country to know where they can turn to and where they can trust.
Journalists don't set out to win awards, that's not the point, but they do aspire to be as good or better than their peers, and that sense of quality competition is incredibly important.
Having spent more than 30 years working for Scripps, it's a company that has always believed in quality journalism and always supported the reporters out there in the field, and that's what these awards are meant to do.
The free press is under so much attack. We don't need to talk about that. We're all aware of it. And so now more than ever, we need these checks and balances on the powerful. We need reporters more than ever to tell us what's going on in the world.
I think it means more than it has in the past for several reasons. One is I think the competition has sort of been elevated among competitions for journalism. This really recognizes the best of the best.